What's going on, everybody? Soloyaker here, and I'm going to leave some links in the description below. And this lawyer, Catherine, she's out of Michigan. She's not a Florida lawyer, but she's out of Michigan, and she hosts live streams where she answers questions about the Constitution and certain things. And in this video, I called in and I was asking her some constitutional questions, and they're really good. So please, if you can, go over to Catherine's channel and subscribe, because she's an amazing woman. She answered my question pretty good, and she actually answers all the questions she can, even though she may not be your lawyer, but she does answer questions as if she was your lawyer. She's not your lawyer, but she would answer questions as if she was, if that makes sense. But anyway, links are all in the description below. Make sure you go over to her channel. The video link will be in the description below. Leave a comment, let her know the armed fisherman is watching and subscribed, and let her know that. So let's get into it. Soloyaker, deuces.
Yeah, go to the fisherman. He's awesome.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Hello, this is Catherine. How can I help you?
Hey, Catherine. This is Michael Taylor. I go by the Armed Fisherman.
Yes. Nice to hear from you. How are you doing today?
I'm living the dream, and I hope all your subscribers and all your followers are living the dream as well. And yeah, I'm just enjoying this 70-degree weather in Florida right now. So
yes.
Not too bad.
I love today. It's 11 degrees warmer than yesterday. I mean, granted, yesterday was still a lot warmer than what it is in Michigan right now, but yes.
Oh, my wife's trying to get me to move to Michigan. I said I can't deal with that cold.
or the crazy liberals. I mean, yikes.
I can deal with them. I can defeat them with their own logic sometimes.
Like, oh, you think they have logic?
You give them let them feed you the logic, and then feed it back to them, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even think of it like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." I'm like, even though like I'm a big gun guy, a lot of these gun people, they're like, "Oh, the government should only have the guns, right?" And then I'm like, "Well, do you trust the police?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "But yet here you are wanting to give the government the guns." Okay,
exactly.
You defeat them with their own logic. But I do have a very serious question, and especially here in Florida. I'm not sure. I saw some of your followers. They do know who I am. But here in Florida, we don't have an open carry law per se. It's only exceptions. But my question is...
Oh, wait. Are you saying that we don't have true constitutional carry despite the NRA touting it as such when it was enacted last year?
Yes, no, it's only permitless carry here in the state of Florida.
Right.
So we're still under the exceptions of the rule: fishing, hunting, camping on your property, going to a gun range. Just very few exceptions.
Yes.
But my constitutional question is, because of Bruin, like the way the law was written in the time fashion, if I was to say I just go out and I open carry, right? Hypothetically, just go out, no fishing pole, no nothing, just do it because I feel like it, and I get arrested. I would almost say the Bruin case would allow me to challenge the constitutionality of the Florida law, because under the Constitution, I should be able to, or at least a rifle, the rifle half of it, I would say, I should be able to carry a rifle openly, because you can't conceal a rifle. It's hard to conceal that. And that's pretty much in a nutshell the challenging of unconstitutional laws in all states is basically saying put yourself as the martyr, take the arrest, and then challenge it in the Supreme Court. And is that something that has been done before, or is it something that we should almost want to do to try to challenge unconstitutional laws?
I mean, they can be challenged without having the arrest, for sure, because it's precluding you from exercising your God-given liberties right now. And I wouldn't even worry about Bruin. Again, if I am arrested and I'm, fighting the fight, like you talked about, using their own logic against them. As part of that, I do pull up cases and I put in, I'll put hundreds of cases in a brief to show them they're all dumbasses for whatever argument that they're making. But in reality, it doesn't matter what the court said in Bruin because they didn't quite get it right. They only got
Right.
it right part of the way. And what matters is that the Second Amendment is pretty damn clear. We have the right to keep and bear arms, and it's not something that they can, they can't say, Michigan. Well, we're gonna say Michigan as of the time when I moved down here in 2021, when the laws were a lot different, gun laws back then. But anyway, and just 2 years ago when I moved down here, Michigan was an open carry state. So the thing was you had to have a permit if you wanted to conceal carry. Whereas now down here, you supposedly can't, in Florida, you supposedly under the state laws, you can't open carry at all. But you can concealed carry as long as you're legally able to obtain a permit otherwise, and you're forced to provide identification in violation of the Fourth Amendment just simply because an officer has asked you, if as long as you're carrying, et cetera, all kinds of other constitutional violations. But none of those laws are accurate. None of them are constitutional. We have a right to be able to carry a weapon concealed or openly, as long as it doesn't go to the extremes of brandishing. If you are brandishing a firearm and displaying it in such a way to purposely cause fear or to make somebody think you are showing them the weapon on purpose, that it's seen as an active threat to harm someone, that is, not acceptable behavior. But merely having your firearm and having it openly or concealed carried is, somebody should be challenging it. Absolutely. And yeah, I don't have any faith in the state Supreme Court because our state constitution has a few too many ugly things in it, I think, that could be used against that freedom argument. But of course, the U.S.
Right.
The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So the best fight would be to bring it to the U.S. Supreme Court. But again, they don't always get it right either. So I think it's, the more people do to simply say enough is enough. We're not going to take your bullshit, and we're not going to limit our freedoms to what, Congress or the courts or some executive with, a bit too much ink in his pen, with the executive orders being issued like they're going out of style. We don't have to limit our freedom based on what any of those clowns think that they want to limit our freedom to. So,
right. And I agree. And that the same thing you mentioned about Congress, most people don't know that, the Second Amendment could get repealed. All it takes is 2/3 of our Congress turning over to the wrong side, or 2/3 of them saying, hey, we don't want the Second Amendment, we want to amend it to something different. And that's scary to me. But in the same motion, if Congress or if they wanted to do that, they thought January 6th was a bad day, it would only, you'd see another revolution. But, and for me, I want to see, like, I heard about the red flag laws that they're pushing over in Michigan, and I think they just passed it, if I'm not wrong.
I believe they did pass a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the whole bunch. And these are the things that, I try not to get too political on my channel, but it's just the way it is. It's like, you can't have some of these amendments without getting somewhat political. And then when you see these political candidates or whoever saying that they're going to do X, Y, or Z, that's when you start showing up to their office. That's when whether you live there or not, just, having that voice. And thankfully, with you having a channel, me having a channel, and others, we could be the voice for some of those people. And that's what I try to do on my channel now, is saying, hey, I'll go to the government, I'll scream to the top of my lungs, but it takes us as we the people to get together to say enough is enough. And that's where we're at, I think, going forward in our country, is how much more are we going to take, and what do we do together without the government to keep our country going?
right. And I agree that it's good that, I'm shadow banned, so I don't know that I have much effectiveness on any platform, but regardless, we can't take the place of being the voice for those who share our constitutional values. But what I think our role is, or First Amendment auditors or whomever, any freedom fighters, our role is to impassion and empower, to educate the rest of the people to stand up and start doing their job, to to whether they want to focus at a local level, state level, national level, they need to start making calls. They need to start sending emails. They need to do handwritten letters if that's what they prefer. It's so easy to just, pick somewhere small to start with and just be repetitive about it, and get a few neighbors or friends and, rotate. So somebody's always going to your local city council meeting, for example. But that's one of the things. It could be overwhelming though at the same time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many things that we're fighting against, and so many different levels, and different, so local level or state level or national level, but also Second Amendment issues or First Amendment issues or just general equal protection arguments, whatever. There's so many things, and it becomes overwhelming. And that's where I think it's important that we, including people like you and me, but everybody. I had this thing that I was advocating for this whole year, and I've said 3 for 2023. So hashtag 3 for 2023 means narrow your freedom fighting issues down to no more than 3, because otherwise
Yeah.
you're going to get burnt out. There's no way you could keep up, and perhaps it
Nope.
should only be 1.
Yeah.
You-
Well, I'd say 1 to 2. And especially if you start noticing you getting a group of people and like, all right, let's all break this section up. There's 6 sections of this and there's 6 of us. You take 1, that's your main goal. Get educated about that one subject. Because it happens to me. Like I try to get so much, I go to council meetings and I speak about things, but I'm speaking about so much that everything gets clouded because there's so much going in my head trying to get a point across in 3 minutes or 4 minutes or however long I'm given. And that's the difference. If you have one person talking about one issue, the next person talks about the next, then it's cohesive. Then your politicians, whether it's state, local, federal, whatever, they actually hear one person speaking about one issue and the next person. And that's the route I'm trying to go right now. I'm really trying to show people like, hey, you need to speak to people, whether it's at your city hall that are doing things, whether it be your property taxes get increased by 3.5% next month or next year. That's when you needed to speak to them 6 months ago about, hey, I don't want my property taxes going up. Those are, whether it be at that level or your constitutional rights or whatever, if you don't agree with what your council or your states or your federal are doing, stand up, be a voice, and that could be half of it. I've seen some changes here in Florida between whether it be a First Amendment or a Second Amendment action. Like my channel with the open carry stuff, they don't even come out anymore. So I mean, I still go out and open carry, but I know that the police aren't coming. And that's what people came to my channel for. So now they don't come out. I've done my job. Now I'm moving forward to this next position of like, I'm just one person. I want you to be a person and you to be a person. And if we all come together with one point or a couple different points, we could affect change. And
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we need to do. And yeah, very good points to making sure that, if you can work as a group to figure out, okay, well, if you're going to speak on this issue and you're going to speak on that issue, it works better. And so if you guys, get together with a group of people from your church or your work or your neighbors and, where you have common issues and interests, but break up how you address your local government body or even your state legislators, things of that nature. I think that's very important. And just to let you know, because I think it was during this conversation with you that the state of Michigan's new laws on guns came up. My good friend to AEDU, who's up in Michigan, he said, yes, red flag laws passed, as well as safe storage, universal background checks, etc., passed in Michigan just recently. So,
And just to let everybody, that was a Moms Demand Action thing. I was going to a Moms Demand Action. I was going to a couple of their meetings and got kicked out of a couple of their meetings. But anyway, that was the one big thing, was the safe storage, gun logs, ammo in 2 different spots. Obviously, the red flag logs were still being pushed. And it's crazy because when I was first starting, I was watching Michigan Open Carry. I can't remember the exact YouTube channel, but it was like michiganopencarry.org or something. And that's where I learned half of the open carry stuff was from Michigan, Oregon. There was only one person here in Florida that I actually saw open carry, and that was Jeff Gray. And that, Honor Your Oath. Most people know him from Honor Your Oath. But like, these are freedom fighters. These are your Minutemen. Those people that are out open carrying are the same ones that are be like, hey, you need me to come to Florida to fight something? We're there. And the same thing for Florida. There was some, like, it's hard for me to get there, and I wanted to cover it, but there were so many people covering the red flag laws. I was like, dude, and there's nothing I can do for Florida. I mean, there is. I can send emails, but
yeah,
it's so hard. What we're seeing with legislation, and like, I don't know where our country's gotten to at this point. Is that it's gotten. I go back 20 years. I'm 40 years old. I go back 20 years. It wasn't like this.
no,
It's
yeah,
and I don't know. The only way to try to change people's mind is by talking to people. But sometimes those people on the opposite side of you, they don't want to talk.
yeah. No, that's right. So did I hear that that you were born in 1983? Is that what I just heard you say?
1979.
Oh, okay. You meant 40 as generally. Okay. I just turned
40.
40.
Yeah.
I turned 40 a few months ago, so that's why.
You might want to delete that one. People will be like, "Oh, she's 40? Oh no!" But no, it's as I've aged, I've actually gained more respect for the other side, because when I was younger, if I didn't want to hear them, I was the same way they are to us on this side too. We don't want to hear it. We're just like, we shut them out. But now as I've gotten older, like, I can deal with some, and that's why I say I bring up that argument. You take their arguments, spin it on them, and throw it back in their face, and it's just like like their brain. You can literally see their brain working, trying to think of it, and they're like, "Wait a minute, he makes more sense." And I'm like, "We're on the same team. You just don't like that I carry a gun. I get it."
Right.
But I don't want somebody that doesn't want to carry a gun. I say,
right.
It's your right and it's your choice.
Right.
You don't want to do it. Same thing with your voice. If you don't want to use your voice to make change, then don't. But if you do, you have to be a little bit worried about using your rights, because politicians and police and other people may not like what you have to say, and they're willing to put cuffs on you, throw you in jail, and let the court system figure it out. And sometimes that's what we have to do to effect change.
And I think, to go back to what you said at the beginning of your call, I think we do all need to be willing to take one for the team, so to speak, and not necessarily go looking for it, but be ready and willing to do that. Just like that's what happened to me on election day. I wasn't going to let, the 2 petition circulators, one of them a disabled woman, I wasn't going to let them be arrested and, or physically thrown off of public property when they were violating no laws whatsoever. So I figured if somebody had to be arrested, it better be me rather than them. And I never thought that they'd actually arrest me, at least how they did it, and so violently and so quickly, and refusing to talk about the law. But that's what the deputy said to me. "Oh, well, you'll have your day in court. It doesn't matter what the law is right now. You'll have your day in court." So
I agree. Yeah, this has been an awesome conversation, and I don't want to take from other people. I saw your constitutional questions answered. I was like, here, right up my alley, because I have questions about this. Because I think the legislation, the way it's written, because Florida was an open carry state in 1987, but because of legislation, they got rid of it and adopted. We were the first state to adopt the concealed weapons permit. You can thank Florida for that, everybody. Florida was the one that adopted that, and then every state pretty much followed right behind it.
yeah. Well, it's something too that if you, I mean, I'm more than willing to answer these kinds of questions, ongoing, in future shows. Otherwise, if you ever want to do any kind of, I don't know if you do, lives or uploads or whatever, but if you think any of your viewers might benefit from having any future, constitutional questions answered on your own channel, let me know. I'd be happy to do that because it's all teamwork makes the dream work, right? So the only way
It's
we
about
can.
knowledge.
What's that?
It's about knowledge and education. That's what you're giving us is education. How you want to take it and use it. That's on the person, but we can only tell people, hey, these are your rights, and this is how you can use your rights. But you do have to understand, like when you got arrested, the police have gotten to a point where they don't care. They're like, we're just going to arrest you, let you figure it out in court, and we're going to get qualified immunity because it happened to me. I did a pro se lawsuit, and I lost because of qualified immunity.
Yeah, it's well.
And
Well, what county are you in?
I'm in St. Lucie County. It's just north of Palm Beach.
Oh, okay. Well, if you happen to be around January 4th in the Daytona area in the morning, on a much smaller level and not tied to the Second Amendment, but general ability to fight the government from doing its BS, I have a hearing. My oral argument day is at the Daytona courthouse. I think it's 9:00 a.m. January 4th, and I'd love to have any kind of supporters of the Constitution out to let the court know we're watching and let the city know we're watching, because I'm willing to take this fight all the way.
So you got arrested in Daytona?
No. The case that I have currently going is the case where the city of Ormond Beach is trying to rip out my pavers, my privacy fence, and my 2 small shipping containers that we have since we don't have a garage. So yeah, fun times.
Yeah. Oh, I've got family just right up in Port Orange, right next door to you. So I just wrote down the date, so I'll try to be up there early. And you said 11 o'clock. You said?
I think it's at 9:00 in the morning that
9
day.
o'clock.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah,
All right, so
it's all about, and for me, it's not just this. They literally, the magistrate issued an order that purports to allow the city to come on my property and physically take my pavers, my fence, and my shipping containers. So they think that they can violate the takings clause and literally come and take my property and not pay me, but instead charge me to do that. And they think they get immunity from any damages they cause to my property or my house in so doing. So if they think that they could do this to me, they're obviously going to do this to other people. And that's why we need to fight these kinds of fights and be willing to die on that hill.
that's where you show up to your local government, because that local government, your city councils, that's who passed this ordinance or whatever they're trying to claim, and they get a free for all. Same thing with eminent domain. Somebody doesn't have family, nobody, when they die and the house is theirs and it sits there for 5 years, the city can come in and take the whole thing, and I don't think the government has any right. The same thing with your property tax. You'll never own your house. You own a house, you're going to pay property tax for the rest of that. Whoever owns that house will pay that for the rest of their life. You'll never own your home.
Right.
And that's where fighting your letting the local government, federal, letting them all know, hey, we're tired of all these raises. We need to start doing something different because it's just not working.
Right. Yeah. Well, we definitely need to be doing things different. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you have people, your supporters or your followers that come up with constitutional questions, I mean, by all means, shoot them my way for when we're doing these shows. I'm trying to figure out the best time of day to reach people, but trying to figure out if this is a good time or if we should just do it at 7 p.m. or if we should do one at noon and one at 7. Just trying to.
Yeah, I was sitting around just scrolling through the YouTube and found your live stream. I'm like, all right, sweet, score. So no, and I'm gonna rip a little bit of this and saying, hey, you're a lawyer, correct?
Yep, I'm not a Florida lawyer.
But you're missing, I just want to make sure you're a lawyer in Michigan. That way I'm like, hey, I got to ask some constitutional questions, and she does this on, I'm guessing just 1 in 7, but obviously I'm going to send them over to your channel because, that's how I got started. I was a small channel, and people that loved the work I was doing helped grow my channel, and hopefully I can do the same for you.
Well, yeah, I'd greatly appreciate that. But yes, I'm a Michigan licensed attorney. I'm also, I can do work at the United States Supreme Court and a couple different federal courts. So,
Nice.
yeah. But I'm somebody I think that you're acquainted with. What is it? Oh my gosh, I'm losing his YouTube handle. Dang it. Foshin. Do you know Foshin? That's one of the things he goes by. This is a public service. That's his YouTube channel. Are you acquainted with him?
I don't believe I'm acquainted with him, but I do know of his name. I've seen it.
Okay. Well, good Lord, I can't remember why. Oh, I brought him up because he's a freedom fighter down here in Florida as well, also with Michigan ties. But he, would love to have me be able to help represent Florida freedom fighters with a Florida, state license. And so I think he set up like a GoFundMe or something like that. Because I told him I can't, everything I do, I pay out of pocket to do this. I haven't raised any funds since COVID started because I haven't taken on the private cases. I'm only trying to do the freedom fight. So anyway, I'm not going to pay 10 grand to go through all the licensing and the background checks and all that stuff just to continue to do more free work. So
yeah, no, and that's the thing about it is even if we had a lawyer down here, they're not they have to come out of pocket. Lawyers come out pro se. I get a lot more leniency on a lot of things. There's paperwork, and I think it only cost me $400 to file. But as a lawyer, there's so much more.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap. There might be some cases you could be like, yeah, I'm going to take this one because it's a slam dunk and it. But for most, and that's the problem I've had is I've called lawyers. They want $5 to $7 grand up front. That covers the first couple months. And then anything after that, I start coming out of pocket even more. So, yeah. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's just, that's the hard part for somebody like me that doesn't have all those funds. I just have a YouTube channel. That's it.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's what my goal, this is pie in the sky, but since you're down here in Florida, I'll let you in on my little mission in life. If I could set up some sort of situation where I could have other attorneys join my firm and, somehow, I don't know where the funds would come from, but I would love to be able to train other attorneys and paralegals and staff in Florida and beyond, all across the country. I'd love to be able to have training programs. Eventually, I'd love to run my own law school and teach lawyers really start to finish all about the law and how to follow the Constitution and, what things they really need to do to really be serving the people. That would be my ultimate goal, is to be able to affect the most change nationwide or even statewide. But, you do what you can with what you have until you have more. Yeah. So.
I 100% agree, because that's all we can do, and that's the thankful thing. When, I'm going to do what I can. You're going to get some traction because guess what? You're actually doing God's work right now. You're trying to do the right thing. But you've got the Great Wall of China in front of you, and you can only take it out one brick at a time. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's if you had all the money in the world, you might be able to take it out in one swoop. But without all the funds, without a huge following behind it, sometimes it just falls flat. And you're doing the right thing. And there's other lawyers that are trying to do the right thing, but they know the same thing that and I know. It takes money for these things. It's not just a slam dunk. Oh, I file a lawsuit and that's the end of it. There's so much more behind the scenes, and I didn't even know that. And I'm not a lawyer. I found that out.
Yeah. There is definitely a lot behind the scenes, but in the meantime, if you ever even have I say real life, but in person groups of people that want to learn more about the Constitution, I mean, I'd be willing if somebody just wants to pay the gas money for me to get down there, so I'm not going broke doing it. I'd be
Yeah.
more than willing to drive wherever and talk to people, talk to attorneys, talk to freedom fighters, talk to just general Joes, that just want to know what the law is or what the Constitution is all about. By all means, keep me as a resource. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely do that. I mean, I've already been subscribed to your channel. I can't remember. It was either you or somebody else that got me onto your channel, and I've been watching your channel here and there. Might not comment all the time, but I definitely am watching because I learned, and this is how I've learned. I learned half my gun laws from YouTube, and it's not the best way, but you take a general idea of a law, and then you source out the law. Then you find all the numbers, you find all the statutes, you find all the, penal codes or whatever, and that's the same thing. The question I asked was, sometimes you don't have to take an arrest to try to make that change, but sometimes that arrest will help because you're going to have to go to court for it. And then when the court's like, yeah, whatever, however it falls apart, that's what you have to do. And then you can go forward in trying to make change. And, that's why I was asking that question, is because it's in my head and it sounds like a great idea, but I'm going to have to put myself on a chopping block. And I also have to look at, if I get convicted and all this, I'm still looking at 60 days. That's the max penalty, 60 days, $500 fine. So is it worth it for 60 days and 500 in possibilities that I change the law?
right,
That those are my demons right now. Is do I take that chance?
right,
So
yeah.
thank you so much.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and one last thing. Everybody, there's 29 of y'all in this chat right now. Smash that thumbs up before I get off here. I want to see the thumbs up go up a lot more than it is right now. But other than that, that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks. Have a great day.
You too.